Hello. How's everyone doing? We got Sebastian here, Husker Chuck, Sean, testicular oxide. That's nice. What's everybody up to? If you're in America, how was everyone's Thanksgiving? Mine was okay. What's up, Matt? Mad Mighty Man, Dave Erickson, JDB. What's going on, JDB? Hey, Adam. GR3ND4L. What's up? ZXB Collection. Wouldn't we all like to be directed by Gates McFadden? Absolutely. And today, I'm actually going to be jumping in and watching a Gates McFadden directorial commentary that was on the episode Genesis and has been vetted and edited for us by bridge crew member Sixto to make sure that there are no spoilers involved in that. So I really appreciate that. We're going to be watching that live on stream. If you missed that or you missed parts of it, don't worry because it will be available on this stream after it's over. Also, I'll probably clip that part of it and make it its own video to post either later today or sometime this week. So that'll be coming as well. Excited for that. Also, next week, Alex and myself will be down in Columbus, Ohio for a GalaxyCon. Alex, if you don't know, goes to almost every GalaxyCon around the country because he's part of a wrestling company, a cosplay wrestling company that does those events. And he wrestles there dressed as various Star Trek characters or anime characters or whatever he's doing at that time. So he's already going to those. But this one here in Columbus is going to be my first con I'm ever going to. Outside of, I did a couple local ones when I was wrestling, but not anything huge. But in my real life, this will be one that I'm just going to as a customer, as a guest. And Gates McFadden will be there. Brent Spiner will be there. William Shatner will be there. And then a few other non-Star Trek names that I'm excited for, too. Like, I don't know if I'll be meeting all of these people, but Simon Pegg's there. Matthew Lillard is there. Skeet Ulrich is there. Jaleel White. Ben Schwartz. And then a number of the Twilight cast, which is something that my wife's very excited for. So that's going to be a great time. But I'm obviously very excited to meet Brent Spiner, Gates McFadden, and William Shatner if I'm able to. We got Wrestling with Gaming in here. What's up? Happy Man from Southport, UK. How's it going? Patrick, fellow Ohioan, let's go. Sixto is in the house. Everyone give Sixto a thank you for editing this commentary we're going to be watching here in a little bit. Keep doing the X Files. It's an amazing show. We could see you really like the early episodes, but stick with it. The quality of episodes is amazing. Yeah, absolutely. So we've already said we're going to be finishing out the year doing it weekly up until mid-December, Christmas or whatever, and that'll take us to episode 13. We've already watched all of those, so we've watched up through episode 13, and as long as the progress the way that it's going right now in terms of the performance, as long as it doesn't like fall off a cliff or something, it's safe to say we will be continuing. In terms of what type of commitment, we haven't discussed that yet, but most likely I would expect it to be involved in our 2026 content. With not like a huge break or anything. We will probably pick right back up in January, and continue doing it weekly on Fridays for YouTube, and then the uncuts hit Patreon on Tuesdays. The one thing I might change is we might start again on Patreon a week or 2 weeks early, just to have the uncuts have a little bit more space from the edited reactions, because the quick turnaround, is nice, but it puts me kind of in a time pressure situation every week where the uncut is done and uploaded to Patreon, I have a few days to do that YouTube edit. So just to give myself a little bit more time, we might get a little bit more ahead on the Patreon side. But besides that, I would expect it to continue. Alex and I haven't discussed it to work out the actual details. One thing I'm running into, though, that's a little bit unfortunate, is there is no, that I can find at least, American Blu-ray release of the X-Files past season 2. I own season 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, bought them a decade ago at Best Buy, and once we started watching it, I looked it up to see, if we were going to continue, how I can do that most effectively. And as far as a whole box set, it's all DVD. Even in individual seasons, past season 2, it seems to be all DVD. There is a box set release that is sold in America, but the box set says that it's region B, but all of the reviews on it say that it's region, or that it's all regions. So even though it says it's region B on it for international, it does still play on American 4K players. Can I first just say that the whole region thing has to be one of the lamest things ever? Why did anyone invent that? Stupid. But anyway, yeah, so that's a little bit unfortunate, but I mean, as long as I get it and it works, that's really all that matters, I guess. Powerhouse, live in Columbus. Let me know if you need some food bar recommendations. Hey, throw them in. I don't know what the food. I've never been to a con, like I said. I don't know what the food situation is there. If it's just like some snacks or something, but yeah, if you have any recommendations, definitely throw them out there. One place we love to go in Columbus is this place called MCL. I don't know if you've ever been there. We don't have one near us, but we love going there. It's kind of like look, if Boston Market was actually good, like a legitimate restaurant version of Boston Market, where you walk in and a whole bunch of food and you pick it out of the cart, like that place. Sixto says the stream is freezing. Is the stream freezing for anyone else? For All Good Things, did you split it or watch it as a special? When I watched it as a kid, 94, it was a two-parter. Edgar, yeah, we always watch everything how it is on the physical releases that we are watching it from. So we watched the Blu-ray box set for TNG, and it was on there as a hour and a half long episode. So I guess a special would be the answer. It was not a two-part episode. So it will be one reaction on YouTube. 90 minutes is the episode length. That's how we watched it. Lack of privacy enforcement in some countries is the reason that regions exist. Okay, damn. Hey, thank you, Reality Strike, so much for the super chat. What's up, Josh? What are you guys looking forward to and seeing in Season 3 for Deep Space Nine? Well, let's see. Looking forward to. So for anyone unaware, we have finished both TNG and also Season 2 of Deep Space Nine. All of that has been uploaded to Patreon in terms of full watch-alongs. So obviously we have to finish up the last 10 or so episodes of the YouTube side. But right now we are on a break in terms of recording it, and we are starting to watch DS9 Season 3 first week of January. We're taking a break over December to recap all of TNG, do a bunch of extra special type videos, and just kind of do a little bit of a reset before, moving on. And, as far as looking forward to it, I've said this in the last few discussions, so on the YouTube side, maybe I haven't said this yet, but I feel as if Deep Space Nine has done a great job through the first 2 seasons building excellent characters and making a cast that I am very interested to watch, very excited to watch, very excited to grow with. And where I think the show has faltered in the first 2 seasons is making a show of it in itself that is consistently as entertaining as The Next Generation and, in certain aspects, the original series in terms of how much we love it. So right now where I stand is I really love Jadzia Dax, Kira Nerys, the Chief, obviously, Odo, Quark, even Julian Bashir and Cisco, who haven't gotten a ton of great stuff, still have had enough to where I really enjoy them. Jake, Noggs, never thought I would love them, but we do. Rom, the list goes on and on. Basically, every character in the show is great already. However, when I look at the first two seasons, there's maybe 5 episodes between the first 2 seasons that I go, that was a damn good episode. So really what I'm excited for, what I'm hoping for is going into season 3, there's more enjoyment in terms of the aspect of the actual show episode to episode, that we get episodes that reach that bar of a duet or a progress or a whispers or necessary evil more often, and it's not picking out diamonds in the rough necessarily. But I have confidence in that because everyone from when we started has said that season 3 is when it gets better, and then some people even say season 4. So I do have confidence in that. But it's, in terms of specifics, I'm not sure how much more specific I could get with it, but that would be off the top of my head. Hey, just dropped by to say you guys are entertaining and it's fun watching Trek and X-Files with you guys. The banter is great. It's hard not to laugh along when you guys are going. I appreciate that. Cheers from southwest of Toledo. What's up? I'm in Toledo once in a while. We like to go to the Hollywood Casino. I'm a bit of a gambling, I don't want to say addict, because I don't do it that often. I'm a gambling enjoyer. But, we like to go there. Almost time for Generations. Stoked for that. Yeah, I am too. I believe it's after episode 8 of Deep Space Nine Season 3, so you're probably looking at February for that. I have the X-Files Blu-ray and it plays fine in US. Okay, I'm assuming you mean the box set. All right, that's good to know. Good to have confirmation on that. Oh yes, Dukat is the best villain ever. Yeah, Dukat, I didn't even name. That's another great one. Paul, hey Josh. Where'd you go? I lost it. Hey Josh, busy day, but wanted to say that I hope all in the target audience had a happy Thanksgiving day. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Long-time viewer. Great guy. 20K subscriber special still in the pipeline. Delayed Critic. Yes, it is. We have not watched it yet. That's just on that list of things that we're getting to here in December while we're on that break of Star Trek. So, yes, that will be coming. My guess would be at some point in December. Sounds like something an addict would say. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Gambling degenerate, yeah. Good morning, Christopher. Been really enjoying the X-Files jokes. David Duchovny is the man in the grass running bit has been cracking me up. Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Dead Stew. I've been really having fun with that, too. The X-Files, I mean, we do that in Star Trek as well, right? We do that in really anything we watch. But X-Files, just with the chemistry between them, and also David Duchovny, Fox Mulder, the one-liners that he has, the jokes that he tells, it kind of makes it ripe for that kind of stuff. I've been having a really great time with that, too. How long has the live been going on? About 10 minutes. A little over 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We started at the top of the hour. Should have stayed in the grass, David. Yeah, absolutely. There's a really nice AI upscale of DS9 out there if you know where to look. Yeah, I haven't looked myself. I have heard that that's the case. I personally, in terms of for the channel, I feel like I don't want to risk like going to watch an upscale and like something about it isn't great and that ruins our experience of watching it. So I just, DS9 and Voyager have to be standard definition. It is what it is. I've heard that I guess Enterprise also has a Blu-ray, and someone on the Patreon said they're going to send it to our P.O. box, so I guess I'll be having that soon. We already had all of Enterprise sent to us on DVD, but I guess now we'll have the Blu-ray, so that's cool at least. I don't know why of the 3 Star Trek shows after TNG, they remastered to Blu-ray the one that got canceled. That seems kind of weird, but I don't know. Whatever. Will you ever tackle any Star Trek Interplay games? 25th Anniversary and Judgment Rights. Actually, thank you for asking that, Raven, because I got to show you guys something. I picked this up. Star Trek Judgment Rights. And it says it's the limited CD-ROM collection edition. And I have no idea if this will work on my computer because it's a CD-ROM and I have a 2025 Mac. But it came with all this stuff. Came with also these CDs. And then it also, for I just thought this was funny. This is just literally in here. Like, just comes with a VHS of Sitting on the Edge Forever. Like, oh, okay. Like, all right, that's cool. And then it came with this little pin. Star Trek Judgment Rights pin. So anyway, this was like, I have a Star Trek store near me, and this was like $16. So I'd heard about this game before, and I'm like, I'll get it. So I'm gonna try that at some point. It was released, I think, in I can't look at it. It doesn't say on this box, but pretty sure it was released in like before where we are in release order. So I think it's good to play. Got some super chats. Sixto, thank you so much for the super chat. Sixto supplied us with the commentary video that we're about to watch here on this stream and made sure it didn't have spoilers, so appreciate that, Sixto. Enterprise was the first digitally shot Star Trek easier transfer. Okay. Don't know how any of that works, so I guess that makes sense. You know, it was made in the 2000s, shot digitally. Interesting, okay. Technically, this is from Michael Nemo. Thank you so much for the super chat, Michael. Technically, Enterprise wasn't canceled in the trad way of thinking of shows being canceled. In the trad way, like a trad wife? I don't know what that means, Michael, in terms of it wasn't, are you saying it wasn't canceled as in, oh, you know, season ended and then show canceled? I'm not sure. Obviously, no, don't spoil me on anything, but we'll see what that means. I just had heard that it was canceled. That's all. That's all I know. So I'm not expecting like a, you know, resolution or anything. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Traditional. Yeah, I know it means traditional. I know. I was messing around. The Treadway, it was canceled while a woman ignored her kids to make bubblegum from scratch. Yes, Alina, yes. Absolutely. So, here's actually another thing that we did recently this past week. And those of you that are here in the chat that are in our bridge crew, send me a message on Discord if you're interested, because I'll explain. But Alex and I did our very first, I think it would be our very first, sorry, you got some of my webcam there, very first channel-related interview. We got interviewed by TrekMovie.com this past week. It's pretty like generic interview about our channel and whatnot. I think the guy is doing an article not just about our channel, but about I don't know if it's about Star Trek reactors or about I think about Star Trek in general, in terms of how, I think it might be about how newer people are finding it. And the guy was a fan of ours, so we did an interview with him. Cool guy. Interview went really well. But yeah, if you're on our bridge crew and you're here, he did ask if he could do like a quick email a few questions to get some answers. If anyone's interested in that, send me a message on Discord. But basically, why did I bring that up? What triggered me to bring that up? Oh, I asked him, so after the interview, he told us, you know, throughout the interview, I mean, he watches our videos and everything. I felt like he kind of got the vibe. He was self-aware. So I asked him at the end, I was like, my question for you is, no spoilers, don't tell us anything, but of what's left through Enterprise, the remainder of Deep Space Nine, seasons 3 through 7, all of Voyager, and then all of Enterprise, what do you think? I said, what do you think either you're the most excited for us to watch, or what do you think we are going to enjoy the most? And his answer was kind of predictable because it's probably a sentiment that most of our audience is excited for at this point. But he said the remainder of Deep Space Nine. And he said because based on what we like and what we've liked in the past and disliked, he knows what's coming in Deep Space Nine, and he thinks we're really going to love it. That's something that we've heard a lot, so that did not surprise me. But I would also pose that question to you guys, if because I've been curious. Now that we're in this transitional point of finishing TNG, I am curious going into these other shows. I don't want any details. Don't tell me anything. But for those that do watch our content, what is and you enjoy those shows, maybe not all of them, but you enjoy some of them. Which ones you're excited for us to watch? Because TNG has always been obviously the main thing, and then people excited for us to watch Deep Space Nine. But we're just now getting to the point, I guess, of the show that people actually like for the most part. DS9 is a must watch. Yeah. Lower Decks, yeah, that's way in the future. Yeah, in terms of like pre 2009, those three remaining shows, I'm most curious about because everything else, I mean, that's going to be years from now. Nothing compares to DS9. It's just perfect, especially after watching Babylon 5. Just Angry Gamer. That's interesting because I've heard a lot of people, the Babylon 5 defenders or the Babylon 5 fanboys or whatever. I mean, they're the ones in our comments on almost every DS9 video being like, oh man, this is great how they ripped this off from Babylon 5. So I don't know. That's interesting though. DS9 over and over and over. Okay. DS9 seasons 3 to 6 are the top of the top. You guys doing this till you are 90? If people are still watching us in our 80s, I don't know. Straight up DS9. Okay, so it seems like DS9 is the resounding answer. Oh, here we go. We got Siddhartha. Voyager seasons 4 through 7 is the best Trek, with DS9 season 3 through 7. Okay. Over on the Patreon, we just did a video. It'll be coming to YouTube between seasons. We're already there on Patreon. We have a video on our channel. It's like the featured video if you go to our channel. Or it should be anyway, but we did it like a year and a half ago. It was TA's Star Trek Journey Explained. It was like a 15-minute quick video of here's how we got into Star Trek. This is why we're watching it. These are the things we like about it. These are things we don't. It was very quick. We were going into, I think, season 4 at that time of TNG. So I figured this was a good time, since we were taking this break, to do a deeper dive. Because we did not have the context at that time of any of Deep Space Nine, Star Trek 6, TNG seasons 4 through 7. So I feel like it was a good time to not only do that again, but do a much deeper dive. So we did about a 60 to 90 minute podcast type discussion just titled Why We Love Star Trek. And we just spoke for over an hour about the reasons we love Star Trek, the reasons we're watching Star Trek instead of watching an Earth set drama or some type of other character drama, why specifically Star Trek is what we love so much, and things we love about it, things we don't, some memes, some confusions, things like that. And I really enjoyed doing that. So that'll be coming to YouTube as well. And the reason I bring that up is because through that discussion and through people's reactions to that discussion, I think one thing that's really been interesting and I'm excited for is seeing as these shows, develop, like Deep Space Nine, whatever's going to end up happening with all of it, as well as the other shows, is kind of comparing the shows as what they are rather than on an individual episode basis. Because so much of what we do, if you watch our show, is individual basis, is individual episode basis, which is fair because up until this point, it's been episodic. But now that we've finished TNG, I kind of can look at it as a whole. And I've been rewatching a lot of episodes, getting into, doing our best of the series episode list soon. And, I can go, okay, so this is what TNG did or what TNG became versus what the original series was. And when we're first starting out the show, we don't know that. So like right now with Deep Space Nine, we don't know that. What is that show eventually going to be versus the Next Generation in the original series? So that's something I'm really excited to get more into. We can do it now with the Next Generation and the original series, but being able to do them with all the shows eventually, that's something that really I'm excited for, because at this point, we're only 4 shows in if you count the animated series. But none of them have felt like a cheap clone of the other once they actually got their footing and knew what they were. So like TNG, we went back and rewatched Encounter at Farpoint after finishing the show, and straight up the biggest difference to me was after watching, 4 or 5 seasons of TNG be its own thing, is, oh, this is clearly just trying to be a reboot of TOS with new characters. Like that's how Encounter at Farpoint felt. But when we first watched it, we didn't understand that because we didn't know what TNG eventually became. So in rewatching, I've gotten to season 3 now in my rewatches of just the select episodes that I'm considering for my best of list. And that jump from season 2 to 3, I mean, we noticed it at the time for sure, but that jump is like massive. I mean, in the way the show looks, feels, the way the characters act, it's crazy. Watching the first 2 seasons and watching these characters, and then you into season 3, the first season 3 one I rewatched was the bonding, and I was like, whoa, not only because we love the bonding, but also just like how everyone looks, talks, feels, how it's directed, how it sounds. I'm like, this is insane. And like, yes, we did notice that as we were going through it, but we didn't have kind of that knowledge of the whole series. So that's been really interesting. Long Hill Andy, thank you for the super chat. Am I in time for the Lego Enterprise build stream? Yeah, so that's not today because I haven't gotten it, but I announced this on Patreon yesterday. I did purchase the Lego Enterprise D set, which was $400, I think. Crazy. Anyway, tax write-off. Anyway, that is coming, and I'm figuring it's going to be, because this was a brand new release and it sold out the day of, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get this maybe by Christmas. But same day I ordered it, we got the tracking. Like, they was shipped. So I'm like, wow. So I'm thinking maybe next week it'll get here. And I am a Lego member, so I also got the, it comes with the Shuttle Pod and Ensign Rowe figure as well. So I would like to do a building stream with that. I think that'd be fun. I have never built anything Lego in my life. It's going to be a disaster. I'll probably be on like the floor or something. So I think it would be fun also to do that with Alex, but that has to be something that we have time for on the schedule, because Alex and I obviously have limited days. So if it's something I have to do on my own, like this is obviously just extra time I just hopped on. But if we have time, that'd be cool to do together as a live stream. But we'll see how it works out. Alina, have you promoted the podcast you're on, Josh? I'm not biased at all, but I thought it was very good. Yeah, so for anyone unaware, I did make a post on the YouTube. But for anyone unaware, I was on Song vs. Song, which is hosted by Alina here in the chat, as well as YouTuber Todd in the Shadows, and I had a great time on there. That was, I think, the first, podcast outside of the channel I've done. It wasn't related to the channel necessarily, but, something that, happened because of the channel. And that was a lot of fun. So this week, yeah, we've had a number of things. I got to do that last weekend, and then we did the interview this past week, so that's been really cool. I know someone just said in the chat, mentioning doing collabs. Someone said you should do a crossover reaction with Jen Murray. You guys are at the exact same location in your Star Trek reaction journeys. I think the only thing with that is I don't know her exact schedule or placement, obviously, but I do know she's ahead. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'd have to look, but I know she's been on YouTube at least. She's been ahead of us for a while, and we have kind of obviously increased our uploading pace. So I think we'll probably both be posting All Good Things around the same time, I would imagine. I haven't looked over there in a little bit, but yeah, in terms of working with other people or doing collabs or anything like that, I've talked about it in the past. It just has to be, it has to make sense. And the biggest thing for me is I'm not really down for when it comes to making a video, like virtual stuff. I mean, it would really have to make sense, especially if it's a reaction. I mean, I would love to do collabs in person. Now, I know that that's a little bit of a, we've never done that before. It would be a learning curve. Also, I mean, it's something YouTubers definitely do. It's not out of the ordinary, but like, my recording studio is my basement. So like if I was going to collaborate with someone and they're coming over, they just have to like come to my house. Like I don't know, it seems kind of sus, but people do it. It is what it is. So I'd be down. But it would have to make sense, and it would have to be, something that we think would be beneficial. There's just not that many people in the space. There's like maybe 5 other people. So, and we're the smallest of all of them, I think. Maybe there's 1 or 2 smaller creators than us out there that are doing this, but I'm talking specifically in terms of reacting to Star Trek. But I think for the most part, we're the smallest one on the YouTube side. We have a very strong Patreon following, but if you look at the YouTube side, I mean, everyone is mostly bigger than us, So it's not like we're coming to them like, oh, we have this opportunity for you. All the subscribers we have already probably watch you. Would this benefit you? But, we'll see. Monty Crawford, what's up? Good morning. Got a super chat. Harry, what's up, man? Are you going to do any cinematic trailers during your break? Yes, I'm sure, probably. I did just do a Preemptive Strike. And for anyone that's unaware, over on the Patreon, I post all the cinematic trailers as soon as I finish them, and they are free. So you do not have to be a paying member of the Patreon. I post them for free, public links. So you can go on there and there's and you watch those, the ones that haven't made it to YouTube yet. But yeah, I've done them. The ones that haven't come to YouTube so far, I just did Preemptive Strike. There's one for Crossover, the DS9 episode. And I think that's it. I also have done one for the DS9 finale, but that hasn't been posted yet to anywhere. But yeah, I'll do more. I've enjoyed doing them. For those of you that enjoy them, I appreciate it. If it's not your thing, that's fine. It's just a little fun thing that I do. Kind of got into it on accident because I did it for lessons. And before that, I was doing edits just like how Alex does edits sometimes, that are more like, more TikTok-esque edits. And for lessons, I just randomly made the decision. I'm like, what if I just did this one as a movie trailer? Like, it was just a random thought that I had. And I really, really enjoyed it. So I was like, oh, this is really fun. And I still do more short form edits once in a while. Like I did one for Lower Decks. I did one for Attached. But for the most part, I enjoy doing the trailer ones when there's enough there that makes a good trailer. So I enjoy that. Thank you for the super chat. Sid Hartha, thank you very much for the super chat. I think the captain all fit a role. Kirk is the swashbuckler, Picard is the diplomat, etc. If you had to say Sisko is the blank so far, what would it be? The blank so far, what would it be? So you have the I love that word, by the way. Swashbuckler. Picard is the diplomat. I'm probably not thinking of a good enough word for this, but when I think of Sisko so far, I just think of like the boss, like the HBIC, but not head bitch in charge, the head boss in charge. Like my favorite Sisko moments is when he just lays down the law. Whether it's like literally being in charge of someone or even if it's just a conversation. Like in Maquis Part 1, the conversation he has with Kira, where she is totally valid in all of her points and thoughts, but Sisko's just like, this is how it is, now get out of my office, and opens the door. And even if I don't always agree with Sisko's perspective, I love how he just stands on business, and he stands for what he thinks. But he's also open to changing how he thinks and changing his opinions, and has those kind of deeper talks with, like Jadzia and stuff. So that's what I would say. But if there's a better word than just boss or something like that I'm not thinking of. Russell Elledge, 2651, thank you so much for the super chat. Be careful to avoid spoilers, but I think your assessment of DS9 Season 1 and 2 is spot on. Even the mid and bad episodes are building a solid foundation the rest of the series will build on. I agree 100%, and I hope that I agree with you in the long run. But thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. Michael Nemo, 7629, thank you for the super chat, Michael. Next Gen Fun, saccharin sometimes. All right, you know what? Gotta look it up. Saccharin. A sweet tasting synthetic compound used in food and drink as a substitute for sugar. Is that what you're referring to? DS9, a glorious effort in arcs and cohesion. Voyager mad writing. Okay, that's all Voyager gets. The opposite of DS9, Enterprise, better, interesting, charming, ages well. Okay, Enterprise ages well. That's good to know. I am aware of the captains. I'm guessing captains. Like Cisco's not a captain, so who knows? But like I'm aware of like in Voyager, Captain Janeway, and in Enterprise. I don't know the captain's name, but I know it's Scott Bakula. So I am aware of those things. But I'm excited to watch it. Tom OCC, what's up, Tom? Thank you for the super chat. Okay, you correctly voted for vanilla over chocolate and generally steak over chicken. I don't know if that's what I generally steak over chicken. I'll revisit that. Now, is pineapple pizza a travesty or not? I've talked about this on stream before. I love that this is what I've talked about. Like, I've talked about this on stream before, just like pizza. But I personally, what I said before was, is pineapple pizza my favorite? I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I think pizza is one of the most, if not the most, versatile food types. And I think that almost anything can be made into a pizza. So for someone to say, is pineapple pizza a travesty? I would say no. Because first of all, it wouldn't even make the top 5 of like weirdest pizzas that I've tried. So I wouldn't say it's a travesty. Me personally, have I enjoyed a pineapple pizza? Some pineapple, bacon, ham, a Hawaiian pizza? Yeah, I've enjoyed it in the past. It's not my go-to. I'm a simple kind of guy. I like a nice pepperoni pizza, but if I'm going out there on a limb, I've really enjoyed in the past some, a taco pizza, a cheeseburger pizza, ones with different types of sauces, buffalo chicken pizza, stuff like that. But travesty, I wouldn't say so. In terms of generally steak over chicken, just to re-say what I said, I'm pretty sure, I think steak has higher ceiling, but chicken is consistent and dependable. Like, really any day, if I'm hungry, I can eat chicken, and I know for the most part, it's going to be good. Like, worst case scenario, it's like dry and bland or whatever, and unseasoned. But unless it's raw or something, like, I'm not really going to bite into chicken and be like, oh, and that can happen with steak, because it depends on how you like it cooked. Me, personally, it depends on how I'm eating it. If I'm just eating a steak with, like, potatoes, I like it medium. But if I am eating it in like a hibachi or something, then maybe I go medium rare. It depends on what it's being cooked with. And that can get messed up very easily. And nothing is worse than ordering a steak at a restaurant and it coming out too cooked or not cooked enough. It just ruins your whole meal. I'm not really a cold pizza guy, Ty. Any cold pizza is good for breakfast. I'm not really a cold pizza guy because I'm not a cold food guy in general when it comes to food that should be warm. So if I'm eating a salad or something, obviously it's cold. But like, if I'm eating pizza, leftovers, anything that's supposed to be hot, I nuke all my food. If I get takeout from somewhere and I bring it home and it's been like more than 10 minutes, I'm throwing it in the microwave. I'm nuking it. I love all of my hot food steaming insanely hot. Now, with pizza, if it's left over, I typically actually throw that in the oven. Because microwave can, can make the pizza kind of gross. Now, if I'm in a rush or if I'm in a pinch, I'll toss it in the microwave. But typically, I like to throw pizza back in the oven. Paying my monthly only Josh sub. Well, thank you so much for the super chat, Bills. Is this the only Josh sub, these streams? I want to do more of these, do these more often. It's just, like I always say, a matter of having the time. I am doing this full time now, and I've finally gotten to a point where I'm pretty, okay in terms of, like, I don't feel like I'm buried every single day. But there is still a lot I have to do. There's a number of, I think there's 3 more movie reactions we recorded but haven't hit Patreon, and we got to record more of those. There's other projects I have to do. So I still, and then obviously keeping up with the YouTube every week. But with this break we're doing, it's nice to not have 3 uncut Star Trek reactions with full discussions and Patreon takes to edit every single week. That has been, the last couple of weeks has been nice. But it won't last long. Darren, thank you so much for the super chat. DS9 really starts with season 3. Can't wait. Woo! Woo! Michael Nemo, another super chat. Thank you so much. Favorite pizza: pesto, sliced new potatoes, and whole cloves of garlic at Escape from New York Pizza in San Francisco. Oh, that's interesting. Escape from New York Pizza in San Francisco. Okay. That sounds delicious, by the way. I would absolutely try that. Whole cloves of garlic is crazy. I like garlic. I don't know if I like it that much, but I would try it. William Peck, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Will you be watching the Jonathan Frakes retrospective for TNG? I don't know which one that is. If you're talking about the one that aired with the finale in 94, I'm pretty sure people have said that there is footage of Generations in there, so we're going to wait until after Generations. What I think makes the most sense, similar to what we did for the 25th anniversary, is probably watch it after DS9 Season 3 and Voyager Season 1. Although we're not taking season breaks anymore, so, I don't know. We'll fit it in. We will watch it, yes, most likely. But I gotta wait till after Generations, because they were obviously promoting that movie at that time, and as you guys tell us all the time, you know how that is. They don't care about spoiling anything. Since you enjoy X-Files, have you two ever looked into Dark Skies? If you're talking about the movie, I've definitely heard of it. There's a patron, I think patron Katie has had this. So it's been on hiatus for a while, but we had a movie lottery wheel over on the Patreon. And how it used to work is patrons of a certain tier would submit a movie, and we would put it on that wheel, spin the wheel, and watch the movie for Patreon. But in Dark Skies, I think patron Katie entered this, and I've definitely heard of this movie because it has one of my favorite actors, I believe. Kerry Russell, yes, it stars Kerry Russell, who's one of my favorite actresses. And no, I have not seen it, to answer your question, but it's on the list. And if the movie lottery comes back, that's one way we'll eventually watch it if she wins. But also, just something in general, maybe for the horror gallery one day could work. Dimitri, thank you so much for the super chat. If I recall, you reacted to Galaxy Quest before you even started TOS. Seeing how that movie is a love letter to Trek, any interest in a rewatch now? So close, but we actually watched it after season 1 of TOS. So that's how we had the audience, right? So we didn't have an audience before Star Trek. So we watched the first season, got a couple thousand subscribers, and they voted for us to watch Galaxy Quest. But your question still basically remains the same because, yes, I would have interest in a rewatch now that we've seen all of TOS, the first 6 movies, and TNG, some of DS9. I know that Galaxy Quest released in, 99? So we're not quite there in release order. Maybe it'd be a fun thing to rewatch once we actually reach it in release order, which would be, right around the end of Deep Space Nine. And, or no, it would even be maybe even towards the end of late Voyager, maybe? I don't know. But that could be a good spot to rewatch it. Also, my least favorite reaction of all time, personally. So, would like to rewatch it. When I say that, I mean us, not the movie. How dare this is a Sixto, by the way. Thank you, Sixto, for the super chat. How dare anyone put a woo when we have the one and only Cisco, ow, as the only acceptable expression of joy? Ow! The only moment I remember from Emissary. Ow! By the way, a little sneak peek, not really a spoiler, but speaking of Emissary, the Emissary, the TNG episode, the Kalar episode, I just rewatched it. And I've always loved that episode. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think when we did our list, I said it was my number 1 for season 2. And going back through it and rewatching my favorite episodes for this list, I'm thinking, okay, the Emissary, it's season 2. It's probably not gonna, I'm still gonna like it, but it's not gonna be, as incredible as it was. No, it was. Suzie Plakson she might be the best guest in TNG. Guest actor. And I would not be surprised if not only the Emissary makes it onto my list, we're doing a top 26, by the way, for the series, as if it's a season. I wouldn't be surprised if it makes it on my list. I also wouldn't be surprised if it was higher than a lot of episodes you would think would be high. Really enjoyed it on the rewatch again. Plus, also, I love the scenes with Kaylar and Deanna in that episode. Deanna's not really, obviously, in her full form yet. It's still early in the show, but flashes of later Deanna in that episode because she actually gets to be a person and talk to Kaylar about family lineage and relationships and that kind of thing. So, enjoyed that quite a bit. Tom, thank you again for the super chat. Sir, this pineapple pizza tolerance is morally concerning. You might need an intervention. Just kidding. Love the channel. Yeah, hey, some people are really, I don't know why that's the one thing so many people are, against. I mean, I guess because it's a fruit. Do we know Dwight Schultz from before TNG? No, we don't. If you go back and watch his first episode, which was Hollow Pursuits, right? We did not know who he was. Everyone, oh, he's from the A-Team. How do you not know him? He's from the A-Team. I've never seen the A-Team in my life. But I know that now I do know that he is in it, as well as the OG Starbuck is in the A-Team as well. So I know some of the cast now, if we ever watch it. What's up, Jimmy? All right, I think I have caught up on the super chats. So, as long as we don't get any more here, I'm going to get set up to start watching. If you missed the beginning of the stream, I mentioned it. But Bridge Crew member Sixto was nice enough to go through and check for spoilers, a Gates McFadden directorial commentary for the episode Genesis that she did. This is on one of those Star Trek cruises, which I just heard about this the other day from Marina Sirtis, because Marina Sirtis is going on the Star Trek cruise this year. And I have no idea what that is or how that works, but apparently it's a cruise with Star Trek people. And Marina Sirtis said that she's going on it next year. I guess it's in February or something. I don't know. And Jonathan Frakes is also going to be on it. Anyway, I don't know when this was that we're watching it. It says The Cruise 7. So, first of all, that sounds awesome. Also, how does that work? Anyway, that's not the point of this. The point is, we were watching this. This is where she did this commentary, and it's been cleared for spoilers, so we're all good there. I'm going to pull up on screen. If you miss any of this, this will be posted later as a video. Also, the full stream will stay up. Also, I'm not just going to be watching it and ignoring you guys. You guys can keep putting messages in the chat as we watch this. You guys can react to this as well, and I'll read what you guys are saying. And obviously, any super chats, I'll pause immediately and read. So we're going to get jumping in. But first, I have to put on, so that you guys don't hear an echo, these generic Amazon headphones that I've had since the virtual era of target audience, and they still work. So, kudos to this company who makes these headphones. Oh, we got another super chat right now. Isengard Tom, thank you so much for the super chat. Always enjoy your reactions. You guys are the GOATs. I appreciate that. I don't know if we're the GOAT, but hey, I'll take it from you. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's go ahead and see if this works. Boom. Okay, when I start playing this, you guys have to tell me if this is too loud, too quiet, okay? Let's see. Vibe the volume up. Tell me if it's too loud, too quiet. And like I said, any super chats or anything, any reactions to this, I'll still read, still talk to you guys. So let's get started. This is a directorial commentary from Gates McFadden about directing the episode Genesis of TNG, which, obviously, as you can tell by my shirt, not only a huge Gates McFadden stan, but also really love that episode. And specifically, I think one of the best directed episodes of the series. And There's a few of them that I'd say off the top of my head that I thought that way, but the crazy thing about it is I know Star Trek did this whole directing school for its cast. Whoever was putting them through this directing school did a great job because almost every single time a cast member directed, it was excellent, which is very interesting to me. Also, I forget what episode it is. I think it's the court episode with Chief in Deep Space Nine Season 2. I think it was that one, but the first time we saw a cast member over there, Avery Brooks directing. So I hope there's more of that as well. But all right, let's get jumping in. And then tell me, guys, about the volume.
Gates McFadden.
So today I was told they wanted me to reenact the episode Genesis. It got no. Okay. So this is really the first time I've done this. Very interesting. It was probably my favorite week in all of the 7 seasons I can on Star Trek. Because I do love directing, and I had worked on Ladders, which was really easy. In terms of learning about lenses and cameras and things, that was really great. And I really did adore directing for theater. That's, I think, still is my favorite thing to do. But at any rate, this episode was given to me by Brannon Braga, who said, this one is perfect for you. And it was a very non-typically Star Trek. It's not really as much science-based as so many of them are. So when I read it, I went, this is kind of like a thriller, Halloween movie, right? But very interesting. And Michael Westmore was super psyched to do it because we talked about it for months, how we were, weeks, sorry, only that few weeks. So I might say months. You're given it and you have a couple of weeks to look at it. So anyway, here that we're going to watch some and then I want to stop and I'll do some comments. I'm very happy. If you want to call out a question or something, it's not going to bother me unless, but because there are some specific things I'd love to talk about, but we only have so much time. But very, very few people in the world have directed TNG actors and iguanas and kittens. I'm just saying, it does take, right? I mean, it takes some skills, like we do, go Georgia. It definitely does. And cats are, that scene where I get, he was just, Spot was great, and actually Spot and I had a free rapport. I did a lot of surgery on Spot, so that's right. All right, so without further ado, let's roll it.
She is beginning to engage in prenatal behavior.
Oh, she is getting close. You'll have a fresh litter of hungry kittens before the week is over. Let me just run an amniotic scan.
Okay, we stop there. So one of the things I was trying hard to do, I had always had this bug up my butt that when you come into sick bay, it was just, you'd see like one patient or maybe two. And it looked like there was nobody there. And I'm like, on a ship with so many hundreds of people or thousands of people, you only have like 2 people on the beds. So I was trying by also doing choreography with the camera, like moving the camera around, going with me. I wanted you to see action that was happening in between, like in between Riker and Ogawa, that you could see that I was still over there with Barclay. And then it would reverse and I would do the same thing, and you wouldn't see the spikes until later, just like you didn't know that Data was carrying a cat. That was what I wanted to do as much as I could, and to keep Crusher moving all the time, because I feel there were so many episodes where she was very static in sickbay. So that was something that I thought I tried to do, and I felt it worked pretty well.
It did work very well. It was excellent. And also, I just had this thought. Do you think when it comes to, I said earlier about the episodes that the cast directs, she just mentioned here that like they're given the script and, they have a few weeks or whatever to think about it. Do you think for them, I don't want to say easier, but they have a little bit of an advantage in the sense of, you're talking about Cliff Bull, Rinrick Colby, the standard TNG directors. To them, they're directing, I don't want to say all the time, but 5+ episodes a season. So to them, maybe not necessarily like assembly line, but maybe they don't have the time to look at a scene like how she's talking about and saying, oh, this character is usually static in the sick bay. There's only 1 or 2 people. Let's do this and change it up. As to where Gates, obviously, she's done this in this role for, at this point, 7 years. A lot of her scenes are in sick bay. She has these thoughts, therefore giving her an advantage when she goes to direct, coming at it from that perspective. That could absolutely be an advantage. Same thing with, like, if Jonathan Frakes is directing, LeVar Burton, Patrick Stewart. That's something I hadn't thought about. That's very interesting, to where, not that the other directors don't try to mix it up, but they definitely have their own styles, so that is very interesting. I appreciate that. All right, back to it.
Moving it around. So that you felt that, yes, there's activity going on in this space. People are talking to each other. We're finding out details about, oh, God was pregnant. And then it was just so perfect to have, I loved that part of the script very, very much. I loved the whole key part. And I thought that moving and really keeping movement going is what I wanted, because so many of the sick bay scenes for all the years we've done it were very static. So anyway, let's roll again. Well, we've seen this.
Oh, the intro.
So,
Nice.
and I wanted a spaceship to go, oh. I thought a monologue here, just a little.
Space.
I don't know if there's some confusion in the chat or based on what I said. We have no plans to go on the Star Trek cruise. I know I brought it up as just an interesting thing. Yeah. Anything Star Trek specifically related, like a con or anything or anything like that, we wouldn't be going to until my goal has always been post TNG films. So not waiting until we finish literally all of Star Trek, but post TNG films, I think at that point would probably be safe. Do we still get spoiled for some stuff down the line? Maybe, but that's definitely my hard line of I wouldn't even consider it until then.
The fighting frontier.
It is awesome, isn't it? Don't you?
Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission to explore strange new worlds.
Yeah.
Shouldn't get through the intro.
Mr. Wolf, I think that you should.
Take several days for Captain Picard and me to complete our mission. I would prefer to have a human present to supervise the birthing process.
Oh, I'd be honored.
I have noticed that you are the only other member of the crew whom Spot seems to like.
Really not true, that's all.
That's right. Such a sweet sound.
Has she? No, the pink collar. We had to have a collar. Place. And let's stop. So that was one of the hardest scenes to do, because of Spock and getting the pan. I really wanted to have them both over the chair and pan down, and Spot that I had to get Spot and wanting to lick herself. So that was an event. Okay, but anything you do with cats can be very difficult. And what was hilarious to me is because I love cats and I've had cats all my life, and you get them purring and they're so easy. Spot was not happy that time. Okay, and you could see by the face. The face was like, I do not. My agent does not want me to do this. But I really just wanted, again, for me, I think it comes from choreography and movement, but I just love the camera to just keep moving. You have something where you're up and then you go down. And of course, in reality, it was not really a dark, secluded space. They don't exist in our quarters on the show. So we had to just sort of make it look like it was. And the reason we had to put the pink collar on was because later, when you see the iguana, you have to have a pink collar. So that was why. Okay, so let's continue.
I did not realize that either Spot or the iguana was wearing the collar when watching the episode. That's funny. It feels like one of those things that it's like we talk a lot about in the show, stuff that happens that it's like either stuff that we'll miss or stuff that we feel like is too obvious. But then there's things like that where they're making the show and they're like, oh, we got to make sure that there's a collar on Spot so that later when it's an iguana, it's wearing the collar so that people know. And I didn't notice the collar at all. So that's pretty funny.
I loved that shot. His head up.
Great shot. That was a great
Thanks
shot.
for waiting.
Caviar. For lunch.
I'm in the mood for something salty. Besides, it's no stranger than what you're eating.
He hated what he had to eat. Who wouldn't?
Wonder if they hardly eat fruits of it.
He's going primitive, yeah. And it's setting up the thing of drinking the water, drink the water. Stop. Can we stop? One of the things that was really, that was another brutal scene because, I mean, that stuff was gooky. The fish stuff, anytime we would do these large buffet scenes or you have a big thing, it's pretty awful. And the idea was for him to be, he's de-evolving, so he's just eating anything and everything, but it's pretty hard to do because unlike a feature film where they would have had somebody make sweet potato octopus so you could actually eat it or something, you know, they'd make it out of another material. We didn't have that kind of budget or time. So it was really, it smelled, it was awful. And so he just ended up playing with it and throwing the thing down. And then it was, obviously with the de-evolution being the theme, it's how do you lay it in? How do you set it in? And how subtle do you have to be? You only have 45 minutes to start to show that they're going back and de-evolving, which again, we're not clear of what's the science about all of this, so it just seems weird. But like even with Don't Stand So Close, I thought there were really good moments of how that would happen. Even though this whole episode is quite a leap of faith, let's be honest, but But at any rate, it was fun for me for various reasons, and one of those was the movement stuff that was happening. I also, I mean, using the background people, having them laugh, having them really do things was something I really wanted to do as well, because I feel there's a lot of times where there's really people like just, you can see people are pretend talking, and I wanted people to be laughing and actually like as if they were in a bar. Okay, now we cut to, I'll actually say my commentary first. So Michael, I wanted to show that he was just de-evolving, and his room was so pristine, and so I was looking at the plants, and this is a riot. He has his version. He hated this. I said, Mike, just like be digging in the plants, like there's a little moss, like you're looking for something else to eat. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. So he wasn't thrilled. He finally did, and he actually did some stuff that I love, which they later cut out.
Oh,
I know. But at any rate, you'll notice the moss does get a moment on the floor by his bed. But this was a hard thing to do because you're suddenly going kind of crazy into destroying the mattress and doing all that. And we couldn't do take after take because it's a big mess to clean up and you have a mattress. So it's like got to be done in one take. So it was, how is it happening? How is he, if you touch the walls and things like that, it makes a noise. We always had to be careful at that time. In those days, anything made a noise, plastic thing you put down. If you touch the wall with your fingernails, we'd have to redo that, the vocal, you know, which is, so anyway, this is what we ended up with. The idea was hunting. He's hunting for something, but he doesn't know what. There it is. That moss.
power fluctuation forward sensor cluster. Now we think it may
Stop for one.
That's actually hilarious that there's a whole thing that they cut out with that moss she's talking about, but then it still makes it in the episode, even though you don't even know what it is, and it's just like a little moment. That's really funny. Also, I hadn't thought about, you just assume when they're making a TV show, and I know she talked about the budget compared to a movie and all those things, that's fair, but something even like how he rips apart his bed, not having the time to clean that up and redo it, so you just have one take. And it's funny to think about it in that way, like you have a professional TV production, but even they are like, okay, well, we have this one take, like I hope we do it well, and then you do the take, and it's like, well, okay, that's the shot, it's either in the show or not. That's interesting because you just assume, you don't think about that sometimes. I mean, sometimes we'll point that out when they're like destroying a huge set, we'll joke about it, like, well, all right, cameras rolling, we make sure we got this. But even as something as small as just like destroying his bed, not being able to go back and redo that, it really just kind of emphasizes, I guess, the element of, even though it's worked on for weeks and there's all this planning and everything, there is still kind of like an on-the-fly element, even of making a TV show of like, well, we, just capture what we capture and we got to work with it. So that's very interesting. Joining the stream super late, but if you're looking for food spots in Columbus during Galaxy Con, you should check out North Market. A lot of different food stalls. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you, Emmerich. Makes for good bloopers sometimes, absolutely. One take gives it a sense of live theater. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's for sure. That's kind of what made TV great back in the day. We don't get that anymore. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I'm sure there is still some stuff in some TV that's like that. Not everything is prestige streaming, but for the most part, you're definitely right. TV has become much more like movies in its budget and its presentation, and sometimes I do wish that it's like, hey, can we maybe get some shows that are still kind of just on that TV level, because I think that's what made a lot of TV great then. But at the same time, if you released something that's not of the quality of everything else coming out in terms of that, that might throw some people off. But I'm sure there's still TV out there that, like, cable's not as big, obviously, but there's still cable shows. Every time a scene gets dubbed in Star Trek now, I'm going to be thinking someone's fingernails touched a wall. Yeah, absolutely. That's also a great insight into, we make fun of ADR all the time. And sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, they're outside. Or, all right, this is the situation. They had to do ADR. Fair. But then there are other times where they're just like in a room or in a hall. And it's like, why did they ADR that? But that actually, the audio technology back then, any small sound, I guess their microphones weren't as good, weren't as focused, and, they'd have to redo it for simple stuff. Man, that'd be so annoying as an actor. You shoot this scene that should be totally fine and your performance is good. Oh, there's this random miscellaneous sound. You have to go dub it. I'd be pissed. I'd be like, oh, first of all, it's going to affect your performance, like all this stuff. That would suck. Have you ever seen the TNG bloopers? I would love to see your reactions in a big bloopers special. We have not yet. We did watch some early show bloopers in one of our live streams once, but no. A number of people have said that about bloopers. I personally don't really, I don't know. I don't get it. It's like, to react to bloopers, like, you just laugh at it. It's like, I don't know. There's not much like insight or anything we'd be able to bring to a blooper. All right, let's keep it going.
1 second. At this time, by the way, this was the highest I think they'd ever shot. They were so great to do this. I'd asked for being way, way above so that then we could slowly come into it later. I wanted to get the feeling, a different angle that hadn't been used yet in the engine room. Anyway, I'm sorry, proceed.
Balance in the phase discriminator. Now what we want to do next is one level 4 diagnostic, but we're going to have to shut down auxiliary power to 19 days. It's a minor adjustment.
So you see his fingers are starting to happen. Riker's getting slower. Barclay's going fast.
I'll look this over later. Go.
Keep you posted.
So stop a second.
We receive a commute.
So one thing that is interesting in this episode is that, a lot of times when there's, let's say, a virus like the Naked Now, it affects all of the crew in the same way. We all start coming on to each other or something. But in this one, everyone was supposed to be feeling it in their own way because everyone de-evolves to be a different species animal. And so that was a choice then. Okay, so then let's play this up. We have Barkley, who's got suddenly, he's got a spider's energy, who moves so fast, right? And then the other creatures, they're becoming creatures that have a slower way of processing. So that was something that you have very little time to show, so you're trying to show that, and the actors were really great about it. But anyway, so that's what's going on. All right, here we go.
In case you watch Starfleet.
Well, no, I talked to everybody in the cast. I said, this is what you're going to look like. This is what the makeup's going to look like. So this is what I want you to do. And I talked about certain people. I want you to use this when you move, and I want your rhythm to be this. And then obviously they're great actors, so they can pick up and do what they want. Yeah, was it hard directing people that you knew so well? And sometimes it was, and sometimes it wasn't. Patrick was difficult. And there's a scene that comes up much later that he absolutely didn't want to do, and then I said, but please just do it, will you please? And he did it, and then later he said, yeah, you actually were right, it did work. But,
Wow.
I mean, but it's that kind of thing. It's tricky. And keep in mind, in this particular episode, we had an earthquake, a massive earthquake. And we lost a lot of crew members who lost their houses. It was very, very difficult. So that was one of the things that happened, and that means money when you have to come in and hire new people. So that's why the episode cost a lot of money for various reasons. And but in the beginning, it was going great, and I was thrilled. It was very, it was fun. It was fun to have more movement and do wackier, weirder things. And Michael Westmore and I were just very close. And I think it's the best makeup he did in 7 years, and he agrees. He feels it's the best makeup. And he wanted to nominate it for an Emmy, and the studio refused. And the editor wanted to nominate this episode for an Emmy, and the studio refused. And Michael Westmore would have won if he had makeup for this. I mean, it was brilliant.
The makeup was definitely great. I'm trying to think. Now, this Michael Westmore guy, I don't know if he worked on every single episode. I'm going to look him up. But assuming that he's had makeup or something, there are definitely some other episodes that come to mind, like, what is it called? Identity Crisis, the one with Geordi, where he turns into the alien. That was good makeup. There's a few others that I really liked all the makeup in Genesis. Obviously, there's the most in terms of it's multiple people all getting makeup done, and it all looks really good. But I thought makeup throughout the entire series was always great. Especially when it came to maybe not the alien creatures that sometimes, looked like just a guy in a mask, but when it came to actual actors having makeup done, that wasn't just a, thing on their nose or whatever. It was basically always really good. Also, I just think that's hilarious to think about that question, directing people I think we even had made that joke. I think when LeVar Burton directed, we were like, oh, what if he was like a cool guy? And then like when he became director, he was a dick. That is a dynamic that I think is very interesting. And the fact that Patrick Stewart was the one who gave her trouble, I don't know if she'll go into it more with anybody else, but Patrick Stewart being that one, that just totally, I am not surprised. I'm not saying I don't think Patrick Stewart was like, a jerk or anything, but he is the lead of the show in a sense, and probably had opinions about how he should do things as Picard. So I wonder what scene, if she'll get to it in particular, he had a problem with. But that's very interesting. I do wonder how everyone else was in terms of that as well. Not just with Gates, but in every episode, how much trouble they gave the director or whoever is talking to them.
Unbelievable. Anyway, all right, here we go.
Some feel like they are keepers, others they're freezing like Counselor Troy. Call Dr. Solar, Dr.
Stop for a second. So it was really the original scene.
Dr. Solar mentioned, by the way. W.
Now, some of you will be very sad that I didn't shoot it that way, but the original scene in the script called for a bubble bath and Marina naked. I actually said no. I mean, that's changing the whole feeling of, being the old brewing. And I mean, because it didn't seem right to me. I said, if she's having this thing, she's going to go and she's going to get hot water. And if we're de-evolving, you're going to try to, it's almost like a lizard skin in the uniform. And I always felt to see the Troy in her uniform with hair coming off, piles of hair coming off, that would be so weird that it would be upsetting. I thought that could be much stronger and scarier than having her in a bubble bath trying to, you know, hold on to, right? But again, and they went along with that, which was really nice because I felt it gave a weirdness to it. And you could see that Worf's character was trying to, he doesn't want to do it, but he does. And there's this whole thing. And I loved having him in the mirror. So there were a lot of really fun things, I thought, but it was complicated because he had his makeup on that you can't get water on. You know, everything is much more complicated than it looks when you're doing things that get into liquids, hair and makeup and all of that. Anyway, and Marina was a champ on this because I said, this is what I'd like. And then, you know, you're going to be a lizard and you're going to do this and you're going to pop up and on it. She was game for it. Everybody was game for it. It was really, really nice. I mean, Jonathan, Patty, Marina, Patty, they were great. You'll see. Anyway.
Okay, first of all, she's 100% right about that scene. I don't want to just assume the worst of, you know, the men on the set, but yeah, I'm just imagining them. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we get Marina in the bubble bath. It's like, oh my God. But totally 100%. I mean, the imagery of her in that tub with the uniform on is 100% better. Also, she mentioned quickly the mirror, but probably my favorite shot in the whole episode is that mirror shot where it cuts and it's Troy in the tub, and then it doesn't just cut to Worf walking in, it pans up to the bathroom mirror and you see Worf walking in, and then it pans back down to Troy. That is excellent shot. One of those just like, you know, little things. But yeah, that bubble bath story is insane. And you know, like stories like that make me wonder. And again, I'm not trying to just assume the worst, but it's like, it does make me wonder, like, obviously we got Sub Rosa and things like that, but I mean, that was written by Jerry Taylor. But how there wasn't more of that. Like, the stories like that make it seem like there's stuff like that probably tries to get into the show all the time. But really, when you look at the show, I mean, there are certain episodes, of course, where some sketch stuff happens, but for the most part, it wasn't really, like, a big deal. So, like, if there had been a scene, if that scene had been Troy naked in a bubble bath, I would have been like, what the hell is this? Like, this doesn't fit this, not just the episode, but the show at all. So it actually makes me kind of curious how many times there were things like that, not just, you know, sexually or with you know, the women or whatever, but just in general of scenes that they tried to put into the show that were in the script originally, that people had to, whether it was the actors or the director, whoever, had to be like, yeah, this doesn't make any sense for this, and change it. It makes me very curious.
Here we go. Notice he's losing all speech. He doesn't talk.
Compound, almost like a venom sac. Worf. Open your mouth.
It was really me doing the stunt. It was.
Women have begun exhibiting strange.
Notice her hands are starting to.
I called for a level 2 security alert. You think we should go to a level 1?
I don't know. What do you think? Okay, sounds good. Then you'll take care of that security thing.
So I thought Jonathan did a fantastic job with just like, you know, just getting more and more his mind getting paralyzed. Dwight, I kept trying to hold him back. I swear. He would not. I mean, I kept saying, I know we're going to get there, but can you just take it down a notch? And he was so into being the spider. You know, it was very hard. I still feel there's a little over the top in that scene. But everyone else, it was like just starting to happen. And you get the feeling that this weird thing is going on and you don't know what is really going on, but you're beginning to think you do. I think that's just because, I mean, really, the first one who goes is Worf, and the heartbeat thing to me is like a creature. It's like something that's there, and you don't know exactly where it's coming from, and that it has an ominous feeling to it. You know, I think that was more what it was about. Yeah, I mean, I think Worf is the one who starts the whole. He gets it. He and Barclay get it first, and they're using Klingon as, you know, Klingons already seem so out there for some of us that now what is a Klingon going to become? For Barclay, I mean, that's a huge leap to go that a humanoid is going to go into a spider. But what can I tell you? That's the script, folks. Okay. So you know that's what you get, and but there is comedy in it, which is also wonderful, I think, too. You know, there's a heightened reality of all in the animals, and then there's all right, let's go on. He was asking about the heartbeat sound. There's a heartbeat sound. I mean, also the engine, it has a heartbeat sound too. And I think it's just this thing of something, we don't know what it is. It's like very Edgar Allan Poe. There's a heart beating, and what the hell is it? Right.
Delta R.
Yeah, Delta R. Here we go. I had wanted this to be darker, but we couldn't do it. We weren't able to.
Oh, even darker.
Hey, sign of the crew.
I cannot access internal sensors from here. We will have to go to the bridge.
One of the things that it was great in the script, it was that you had never seen the Enterprise in the darkness, that there was smells, that there was excrement, sort of like things dropping, like a dog or something on the carpet, because the ship was always pristine, right? Every surface. So I wanted it to have impact, and I really wanted to try to show some of that, especially since they had the handheld lights. But the studio didn't want to go that way. So it was lighter than I wanted, and I was not allowed to show as much of the disheveled. And I think I wanted also to have some feeling, even of the smell, you know, that where are we? This is the Enterprise. What is going on? Because that would be very freaky. It's like coming home to a place that this is your home, and you walk in and it's bedlam. So anyway, so here we go.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I will say, I do think it was effective still, just in what they were able to do, what she was able to do in terms of the darkness and the, you know, shadow shots of them on the wall, them walking around with the lights, the doors not working properly. I still think that was all quite effective for what she was trying to do. I do think it would be awesome if they were able to do more. If it was, as she was describing, kind of a, you know, a terror when you walk in terms of almost unrecognizable of it being the Enterprise. Now, of course, that costs money, takes time, all of those things. But that would have been awesome if it was, because what we saw was basically, it's the Enterprise, but it's dark and a few things are knocked around. But if we were actually able to see it, you know, torn apart, or the bridge, instead of the seats just being a little bit crooked, you know, the seats are torn apart, you know, off of their hinges or whatever, you know, stuff like that would have been very interesting to see. But, I mean, we got what we got. I still think it was effective. The engine always sounded like the rush of blood to me. Neat. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Also, prime television hours, how far is too far? Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything in terms of like a violent nature or a gory nature would be necessary. I mean, we got the one guy with the big slash, you know, in the bridge chair. So that's, you know, good enough for that. But in terms of just like, you know, different types of stuff, I mean, you don't need like blood splatter on the walls necessarily, but just even just the walls torn up, stuff torn up, you know, things like that, I think could be interesting.
I got a blanket in the corridor, at least. The water dripping, yeah. You notice she had different color contexts there as well. Everything was detailed. She was great when she did all that. definitely wanted the seats askew, all of that sort of thing.
Go.
This is one of my favorite scenes coming up.
The Riker flipping him off.
How good he is. So, what you have to know is, it took so long to get people into their makeup. It really wasn't that incredible makeup though. I mean, and I loved the shot where we just see his eye turning, and I wanted to have him like in the ready room so that, you know, he's looking at the fish or whatever. I always thought that was amazing. My son also, when he was growing up, my real son, always loved that fish. But what Jonathan did with his movement was really, really exactly what I hoped for. It was fabulous, I thought. Because it's hard also to stay for so many hours in the makeup, and they never, you know, we were delayed. I can't remember what it was that was this. There was a scene before that had taken a long time, and anyway, he was so game, and he waited, and I just love what he did in that scene. I thought it was really terrific. Did the studio give me pushback of how much gore there was in the episode?
Oh, here we go.
When I first saw the script, I thought, well, it's fun. There's going to be these, you know, everyone's an animal, and I could see the fun in it. It was sort of like the way Sub Rosa is. Is that Star Trek? I don't know. Okay, but at any rate, I think there could have been a lot more gore. So I definitely was not just given a carte blanche on things. I had to do it a certain way, and I had to make it so that, you know, it was a phaser that it hurt him, you know, and that leap I thought was good, because obviously there would not be a great communication. All the creatures were feeling threatened. And then, of course, the big question is, when is Picard going to get affected by this virus that's going all over? It was tricky because there was a lot of violence in a way in this episode, but that was the script, you know. And I didn't want to make anything salacious, but I thought it had to have some element of being scary, or it wasn't going to work at all. I thought it was pretty frightening to come back and have everyone, no one is the way they were before. Yeah, when the music's added, well, the music is basically going to be the producers much more. I could come, he said, how involved is a director or any directors with when the music can come in and not? I mean, the music people were so great, they kind of got it. You have to wait until it's edited. And I worked with JD, and we edited together this whole thing.
Wow.
We sat together because he was teaching me, and it was terrific. I really loved working with him. It's sort of it's kind of obvious when they want to do it. Now, if I had found one time where I said, please don't do that, I don't know, maybe they would have listened, maybe they wouldn't have. But basically, that wasn't my job. The music people, that goes more through the producers, right? But for me, it's working with angles of the camera, how fast the scenes take place, and it, you know, it's tricky because you only have 45 minutes, and people are becoming creatures that do not think the way. So, let's go on.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. I've always thought of score, at least when it comes to TV, there's actually no idea how realistic or true this is, but in the film Forgetting Sarah Marshall, the main character of that, played by Jason Segel, does music for TV. And there's a sequence of him recording the score for the TV show. Now, that plays into a comedy moment, but in the way that it's set up, the show is already basically completed, and on a screen, he's watching it and doing the music. Gonna assume that's not 100% how it's done, but just in the sense that I have always assumed that the music is kind of the last piece that gets added. Like, you basically have finished the show, and now you're adding the score, which I've always thought is interesting because score is a huge part of TV and movies. So to basically make your entire product, film or episode, and then just do the score, you know, last. I wonder what it would be like. Well, it's funny for TNG. It's like, I wonder what it would be like to watch it without a score. You basically do most of the time, but in the later seasons. But like a movie, for example, like imagine, you know, you're watching Inception and the score hasn't been done yet. Like, that's pretty wild. Question, sorry I'm late. Did Josh share any thoughts on DS9 Season 2? Not specifically. I can answer more questions about it here after we finish this in a minute. But, you know, I find it very interesting about the score aspect. And then also she said she got to edit it with, I'm guessing JD is the editor. How much involvement is there then when it comes to, she mentioned earlier, oh, that stuff got cut out. Like, when you're editing it, is that when the choice is made? Or do they edit like an hour-long version and then producers and stuff come in and decide what to cut? That's very interesting. What's up, Badger? Good morning.
Now notice where Data uses these jars that for 7 seasons were never used. I wanted to have an angle that went up to the top of sickbay because that was something I had never seen. So I was really happy about that too. And I wanted sickbay to be messy with all sorts of beds and everything.
It would appear that Spot has had her kittens.
My favorite scene.
I am curious as to why Spot is not caring for it.
Well, there's the collar. I see it now. Now that's been pointed out.
What is it?
So the kittens, my recollection is oh, I know. You should take a bow, dude, because I mean, it was tricky because sometimes, you know, with the camera we'd be rolling and then I would just want to go, you know? So it was tricky. I'd never directed an iguana before. I had directed many kittens for home videos, but not for... But anyway, my recollections, we shot the kitties, the little kittens, at another time because we didn't want to have any kittens being inadvertently hurt. So that was done at a different moment. We could just put a Data's hand in, and then that worked, because that's a lot to have an iguana and 6 kittens in the same room. All right, yes.
So in the earlier scene, it's up. People had a front zipper versus a back. There's a difference in uniform. Was that affected by the earthquake?
That might be. I don't know that is true or not. I really don't. There were so many things going on at that time. I'm sure that someone in wardrobe could answer that for you. But no, I didn't. That wasn't something that I asked for or was particular.
Yeah.
Are you all right, Captain?
I have these intense feelings of fear, panic. I feel as if I were being watched. I can't explain it.
You may be experiencing the initial stages of your transformation.
So I love what Patrick did there, because it really that jarred him into starting his de-evolution and the fear of Barclay's spider. The prop man was one I loved, Will Toms, and he let me, show him where I wanted to have the spider's webs and everything. And the sad part for me, really sad, was I wanted Barclay to drop.
Oh.
And the studio said no, let's just have him hop up. And it's very different. It would have been so much scarier to have him just drop down, to be on the top, because no one's expecting anything like that. But the scene still, I hope, was scary, But that to me is that is like the scene where we really see the danger of this thing and how frightening it is, and how this is in the engine room. I mean, we have to do something or else we're lost. And I also really loved the difference between the android, who is just perfectly calm as he's watching the guard, start to, saying, yes, you're starting to de-evolve now, and this is happening. I loved that kind of, the two of them together in that. So let's push on.
I think we got Ogawa there. That would have been insane. Imagine instead of that moment and the engineering glass, instead he comes down fucking Spider-Man pose from the ceiling upside down, or maybe not even upside down, but even if he just came down like this, that would have been a moment. Now, from the studio side, I'm assuming they said no purely just based on budget. I don't think they would have said no on like a creative difference, but just on budget and time of how they would make that work. I mean, you got to find a camera angle that would work. All that. I mean, that would probably be super tough. So I'm almost, I'm not shocked they said no. Just have him pop up there under the window. Still an effective moment for sure. But yeah, that would have been amazing. That would have been incredible.
Look at that makeup. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. She was so good.
Fugawa's embryo.
What was that?
It was large. 200 kilograms.
Stop a second. So that scene with the door actually was really hard because that's a special door that they had to make, and you can't keep shooting it and bring back different doors. So we had to do it really concisely. But there's always problems with things like that. It's just one of those things. But I loved how Patrick was. You did definitely see it in it's subtle, but it's very much there of something that is going to be an animal that's different, and the fear, and also trying to overcome the fear. I also, you'll notice as it goes further with Data in there, that notice I had lots of creatures on the bed that had blankets over them. I just wanted the ship to seem as different as possible from the normal, beautiful, clean, happy ship, right? I mean, I always felt it was a happy ship. And this is like not happy. It's like, no, we're going to need a hell of a cleaning crew. Okay, let's go on.
Be certain the stun study won't have any effect on it.
See all the studies.
Kill it. Mating instinct is quite strong in Klingon biology. I am not certain what will be an effective lure.
That's an understatement. A little theater magic there.
There we go.
So, it was really hard for Michael Dorn to have this huge thing on his head. He couldn't see easily. It was very hard to do things in. So I think he had a rough time of it just because it's hot. You don't have any space to breathe. It's really easy. But I think he did a really great job with it. I think he did. And what's hard is, it's trying to do something that you don't really have like a lot of time to create a whole movement for an animal. You could improvise a little, but it's very hard to do really, really well. And so, again, you're going through the corridors, and how fast is he able to move? You almost have to slow things down because you're sort of going, no, your creature you can't move that fast. A spider would move that fast, but maybe you wouldn't. I did love the one-arm pull-up of Picard. Yeah, that was cheating, of course. But I think, again, it's like a spooky show. That's I think more of what it was to me than in the same way that Sub Rosa was kind of some weird, I don't know what you call that, but at any rate, that's the thing. It's like people will say, why did you just say that line there? It's just because that's in the script. That's part of the fun of it. And so you really want to embrace it. And I embraced it. I had a fabulous time. I loved trying to figure out all the creatures and have them in there. And I wanted to be as different on the ship. That was really one of the main things. I wanted it to be a different atmosphere. I wanted it to be spooky. And I hope it was. All right, here we go.
Dr. Crusher has determined that the synthetic T-cell she used to cure Mr. Barclay's Urodelan flu initiated the intron virus which swept through the ship.
So this was my fault?
No. In a way, it's mine.
So I think there was a lot of humor in the show. There was, I thought. Barclay's character was hilarious, being the hypochondriac and everything, and it was perfect that he starts the whole thing along with me. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Are there more questions? I'm happy to take some questions. Was the scene that Patrick didn't want to shoot? Well, there were a couple things, but I'll tell you the one that was
Okay,
so
here we
silly
go.
in a way.
Here we go.
I think it's because I don't know why exactly, but the camera shows different things, and as an actor, like on a stage, it wouldn't feel the same way, right? So, for example, when he was coming out, he was going to pull open the one door. Worf is there. He has to be quiet. Patrick wanted to just start, and I said, no, I need another shot to set it up and make it really clear. So just go to the other side and hide back there as you're getting the idea of when to spray, and then you start going. It just gives the audience a second, and it gives characters a second to lock into it. He thought it would just, like, no one would do that. And I'm like, I think it's going to work. And it does work, I think. And because you need a little bit of time. If you had just gone immediately and started spraying and left, I wanted that moment between the two of them and having Worf smell it. And it was really hard for Michael Dorn. I mean, doing some of that stuff with this big thing on.
Okay, well, first of all, never would have guessed that something that's, I don't want to say, minor, but, I mean, random thing to get into an argument about, but I guess that's just how it is on set. Patrick Stewart's thinking, if I'm in this situation, I'm not waiting around. I'm getting out of here, which is totally valid. But I think Gates is probably thinking more from a TV perspective, and I think she's right in terms of giving that second to kind of set up what's going on. And also, you have to think, too, from an editing side, more footage is always better than less footage. So if the shot is just Picard exits out the door and runs down the hall, getting that extra few seconds of footage probably is helpful too, just in terms of, do you need that extra few seconds or not for the runtime? I don't think that was her perspective there, but that's something I would be thinking about. But yeah, I'm expecting he didn't want to like do something ridiculous, but no, it's just whether or not to go across the hallway is pretty funny.
But yeah, I thought it was nice how you just then transition and everybody's looking beautiful again, and they're coming back and the lights are on and it's all good, And we're all like, oosh, wow, thank God, right? And meanwhile, poor Crusher, she had acid all over her face, but she had a hole, put in the pod, and she was just out of commission, came back and she missed it all. She still had the, well, I didn't have a wig on there. That was my hair, but whatever. Another question. Directing the animal. There always animal handlers on sets. That has to be that way. Because usually there were two cats that looked like Spot. There were two Spots. And I think this Spot was the one who was a little grumpy that day. But yes, you always have to do that. And the person who brought the iguana, the iguana was the trickiest one because, there's not like you're giving them little special treats and saying, come on, purr for us, But, so that was definitely someone who was the handler for that iguana. And it was tricky because we couldn't get it to stay still a couple of times. And that's what we wanted, was to just pan out, and the iguana was still. Just, you always have to have, there are laws about that now, which are very important because there were so many animals abused in early days of cinema because nobody protected them, Another question? I have the feeling that's why they did that. They often do that. They minimized Crusher the first time because they knew it was going to be complicated because of all the big changes. It's not like like the set. There were big setups. We had to change the way it looked. We had big makeup things. So they got me out of it. I shot pretty much all my sickbay scenes, I think, right away. It might have even been whatever day. I shot the beginning and the end ones all in the same time. So that then I could just focus. So then I looked like hell with no hair and makeup practically the next days I was shooting. But the hardest part was we had the earthquake. Then there were like 5 days where the studio had to shut down. They had leaks in the studio and things happened. And then it's coming back, and you've kind of lost the energy. It was tricky. That was I think that was too bad. I don't know what the time is. I don't want to hold anyone. Are we all right? I'll be happy to take questions. Yes. Do I think I got more or less pushback or help from the studio when I directed? Well, it's complicated. When we started, I believe I had more directing experience than anyone in the cast. I had done a lot of theater, and I had directed when I was a professor at the universities. I would go to grad school, I would direct plays, and I had done Labyrinth and a couple other things. But it was harder. At that time, they definitely were not, we had male directors almost all the time, for years. And I think, it's different now, thankfully. It's much different now. But at that time, I could not walk into Rick Berman's office like Jonathan could and just flop down on the couch and say, hey, what's happening? Because it would look like I was coming on to him. What are you going to the producer's office of throwing yourself on the couch, right? It was hard. It was even hard in academia because, you want to go out and have a beer with a colleague, nothing to do with flirting. Just, this is a colleague. We work together, but it's going to look like we're doing something. So I think it was much more difficult then. I couldn't come in and have that it was much more of a male camaraderie for me. I did feel that. On the other hand, I loved everybody. So it's not like anyone was doing anything, oh, let's get her. It's just the way it was. And you have to be careful because I've had a lot of times in my life where a male who's a superior position than me has misinterpreted my friendliness. So you have to be careful. So yeah, it was a little tricky, I would say. And also it was, I wish it hadn't taken so long. I wish I had been able to be, yeah, I think it was harder at being a woman. I definitely do. Well, thank you all very, very much. And I hope we all have a nice, great night. I love you all. You're really great folks. I love you. Thank you for coming.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you to Sixto, again, Bridge Crew member, for going through that, editing it, and making sure that any type of spoilers were taken out. If there's other segments, commentaries, panels, interviews that any of you guys would like to see me react to on stream, you can send a link to our email, which is targetaudiencecontact at gmail.com, and I will get those vetted, edited if necessary, if it's something that we would have interest in for me reacting to on stream. Really, that's just the most important thing, is to make sure that it's something that I'm able to watch without spoilers, and obviously that's difficult to do, but if you want to send those links of anything similar to this that you would like me to watch on stream, possibly me and Alex, but obviously Alex and I don't stream all the time together because of our schedule, but you can send that to targetaudiencecontact at gmail.com. But thank you again to Sixto for editing that. That was a great time. He's here in the chat. He says you're welcome. Thank you. Whiteboard reaction. Whiteboard reaction. Here, let me get my whiteboard. One moment. I guess I can be done with the headphones as well, unless I watch something else. But I'll put these over to the side here. And the whiteboards are actually right behind me, so let me grab them real quick. All right, whiteboard reaction for this directorial commentary. Obviously not comparing it to an episode of TNG, just as its own thing. Well, I would say, in terms of whiteboard reaction, we've seen Gates McFadden now, obviously, as an actress on the show, director in her career. She's been cinematographer, other things, and now, for the first time on the channel, we've watched a directorial commentary, and it's also from Gates McFadden. So I would say, as always, Gates can do it all. Underline under the S. But yeah, that was a good time. I know that this was obviously a panel segment on a cruise, so there's other elements that, you know, are involved. But what I've liked her maybe to get a little bit more into the weeds on stuff, you know, personally, in terms of, she talked a few times about like setting up shots and things like that. But to get deeper into that stuff would have been cool. Obviously, she's doing this in front of a crowd for a whole bunch of people who, you know, probably the majority of them are just Star Trek fans, and not that they're not interested in this, but, you know, this is something that's right up my alley in terms of hearing behind the camera stuff about how the show is made. So I would have loved an even deeper dive, and, you know, that would have been sweet. But my main long-term goal at this point, when I think about beyond our first time watching of Star Trek, is to make a, you know, have a show or a podcast or whatever, and it ends up being the best format for it. But I would want it to be video, you know, even if it was a podcast, not just audio. But something where we can cover Star Trek from the angle of the stagecraft of it, of the making of it. And what would be amazing is if every episode, or most episodes, having someone who is actually there, actually involved. Now, getting someone huge like Gates McFadden, Jonathan Frakes, you know, LeVar Burton, that would obviously be incredible. But even other crew members as well, other directors, you know, that are still living, or writers, or makeup people, just anyone that was involved. That would be my ultimate goal, because that, out of everything with Star Trek that we love, is my favorite part of it, right? Is how the show seems to have been made with a kind of special sauce, or just something about it. The way that it's made is just so well done and kind of incredible to see a lot of the time. And for me personally, you know, I know a lot of people, they watch Star Trek and they love talking about the themes and the, you know, plots and the premises and all that. And that stuff's all great, you know, for sure. But for me specifically, I just have always been wowed by how high of a bar, going all the way back to the original series, but up till where we are now in 1994, you know, even with Deep Space Nine, how high of a bar it is when it comes to the actual making of it. The acting, the writing, the directing, the score. So many elements are better than almost any other TV I've watched, and that's part of the reason I love it so much. So yeah, I would love to eventually, you know, get more into that. But that directorial commentary was definitely the type of conversation that I would love to have if I was talking to people that were involved, for sure. Got some more super chats. Sixto, the man himself who provided this. Thank you for the super chat. Very glad I could provide something you enjoyed. Some weird edits on the video. I stole that from, so it made it easy for me to be lazy with the edits. Oh, I got you. Okay. Thank you for the super chat. And then Michael Nemo, thank you for another super chat. Usually at cons, she gets lost between Blabbermouth, Spiner, and Sirtis. Nice seeing her have space to speak. Well, thank you for the super chat. And yeah, I said it earlier, but if anyone who came in late, next week I'll be going to GalaxyCon in Columbus, and Brent Spiner, Gates McFadden, and William Shatner are all scheduled to be there. And I am excited to, you know, see them, but also hopefully, you know, get an autograph or a picture or something. Alex is also going to be there, but he's booked with wrestling, and I don't know his schedule, so maybe we'll do something together in terms of getting a picture or something, but I haven't talked to him yet about specifically what our plans are. I do know, I think it's like $400 or something, but they are having one photo, like professional photo opportunity with all three of them, Gates McFadden, William Shatner, and Brent Spiner, at some point over the weekend. Don't know if I'll pay for that. You know, those professional photos, like the ones Alex has gotten with them, are, you know, you walk up, you take a photo, you walk away. Not that there's anything wrong with that or whatever, but to, you know, quite expensive, but obviously you get the photo as the memory. But yeah, I'm excited for that. Got another super chat from Michael. Directing for Paramount Berman must have been hell. Maybe. I'm glad that they gave so many of the actors that opportunity, though. Also to address what she was talking about at the end. I think when people sometimes hear, oh, well, it's harder to be a woman. Oh, well, whatever your opinion is on that. But I think one thing she brings up that's really interesting is the implicit nature of it, of it doesn't mean that the people behind the scenes were out to get her because she's a woman, or like purposely didn't give her opportunities because she's a woman. But just the idea that she brings up about, if you're Jonathan Frakes, you can just walk into Rick Berman's office and sit down and talk to him and no one's going to think anything about it. But if you're a woman, that just has a different context. And I think that's totally valid, and also something people don't think about in terms of it doesn't have to be a on purpose action or a on purpose, holding something back, but it's just a different perspective about things. And I think that's unfortunate, but it's the reality. And I wish she was able to direct more of the show, have a few more episodes, but it wasn't meant to be. But I'm glad that we got this one. And I know some people, because the science of it doesn't make sense, and that's important to some people, that makes them not like this episode. But me personally, not just the science of it, but I could never look at one element of an episode and one element of it being something I don't like and discounting the entire episode because of it. Like, whether it is the science not making sense or the plot not making sense, or if it is, some bad expositional dialogue or a stupid makeup on an alien. Like, I would never be able to look at an episode and have one factor be like, oh, I don't like this episode. I guess I just look at things a little bit differently in that way. And as cynical as sometimes we are on the channel, I do think one of the positives of the channel in terms of our attitude is that every time we look at something, even if it's an episode we don't care for or something we don't like, we always make sure to point out, okay, but this is what we did like, good direction, good this stuff, great acting from this person, before jumping into the stuff that we didn't like. But what really did surprise me about Genesis and the reaction to it, the comments on it and all those things, is how many people commented and basically said, the science of this episode doesn't make any sense, therefore the entire episode is garbage. And I just find that very interesting, because I just could not see myself ever having that opinion about anything. I'm trying to think of an episode that's kind of where it would be one where I think is like that. Can't really think of great ones off the top of my head, but let's just say The Deadly Years, because that was my least favorite TOS episode, right? Like The Deadly Years. I thought that the repetitive nature of the script, because of the story of them all being really old, made the episode boring, killed the pacing, and made it pretty hard to watch. However, that doesn't discount the makeup. Not all of it was the best, but I thought the makeup specifically on McCoy was really good. McCoy's performance in that episode as an old person was really cool, was really entertaining. And there were the opening, the hook of that episode where they go down to the planet and they find the old people dead. It's kind of like a horror-esque moment. That was really cool. So that's my least favorite episode of TOS, but it's not as if I go, well, the script makes the pacing in this episode not good, therefore the entire thing is garbage. But this is also the internet, and people aren't going to expound on their entire nuanced opinion in a YouTube comment. So I also understand that. But the idea that Genesis is anywhere near the worst episode of TNG, you would have to just be looking at the show from a completely different perspective. And in my opinion, the perspective being looking at every episode and going, does this make realistic sense? That's just never a perspective I'll share. Or never a perspective I'll look at any episode of TV. So if you do, more power to you. But I guess it was surprising to me that it was such a big deal on this one, when you could probably apply that same perspective and that same logic, if that's something you cared about, to the majority of the episodes of the series. So that was surprising to me. But same thing with, I think, Sub Rosa, you know, not in the science aspect, but with Sub Rosa, it was more of the mindset of, well, this isn't Star Trek. Like Gates even said there in the commentary, you know, oh, like this episode, it was kind of like Sub Rosa, is it really Star Trek? You know, in my mind, one of the reasons I love Star Trek is because it can literally be anything. And, you know, you watch TOS, it starts off and the first 10 episodes feature wildly different things that the crew is running into. Some of them more, you could say, science-based than others. But okay, maybe you're not a TOS fan, that's fine. But even if you look at The Next Generation, there's such a wide variety of what is featured on the show that to try to narrow it down to, well, Star Trek is this, and Beverly falling in love with a ghost through a candle that she lit is not Star Trek. I just find that, again, just a perspective I would never have. But, you know, there are some people that like it for a very specific thing, and that's totally fine. You know, I also like it for very specific things. I just don't close off my mindset to episodes that go outside of that. Sometimes people might think we're harsh on episodes that go outside of that, but if I were to close off my mind to episodes that didn't only directly apply to my interest, it would be quite a boring journey, I think, or at least it would be far less entertaining than it has been in terms of that, because there'd probably be 20% of all the total episodes and movies that would fit that, and the rest of them I would just like discount out of hand, so that wouldn't be very fun. But I really loved it. I am an unabashed Genesis defender. The difference for me is that Sub Rosa, I will not sit here and try to claim like, oh, Sub Rosa is an amazing episode, or Sub Rosa is, you know, you're wrong if you say it's a bad episode. I think Sub Rosa for me is a pure, like, yeah, this episode is absolutely ridiculous, but like in a fun, campy way. Even if they weren't intending it to be fun and campy, that was the result. As to where Genesis, I genuinely believe, is a great episode. And like, I'm not going to argue with anybody in terms of the science of it, because I don't care. But if that's something you care about, you know, that's totally understandable. But I think in terms of a TV episode, it is extremely entertaining. It is different than most other Star Trek episodes, which makes it fun. It is basically, in the execution, does everything perfectly in terms of what it's trying to do. And the one thing I would say, if I had a knock on the episode, would be the exposition in the second half with Picard and Data sometimes gets a little bit long-winded, especially for a premise that, according to everyone, doesn't make a lot of sense. I think they definitely could have spent less time trying to explain it. Like, just give a few lines of dialogue of what's happening, and that's it. They do go a little bit overboard with it. But outside of that, I think it's one of the best episodes of the show. Wonder Boy, I'm a scientist, specifically a microbiologist, and I love the episode just for how fun it is. The lack of scientific accuracy does not matter. Based. Jolly thinks Move Along Home was a great episode. I don't, but do you? So Rosa feels problematic to me due to consent issues. I mean, I would say the ghost in that episode is the villain. And the episode ends with Beverly overcoming the hold that ghost has on her and killing the ghost herself. So in the way that you say you have a problem because of consent issues, I would say, so like a movie that I enjoy, there's a movie called Revenge that I enjoy from, I think, like 2017. And it centers around a woman who is with her boyfriend out in like the desert somewhere, gets raped by these men, and then is left for dead, and then comes back to get revenge on all those men. Now, I enjoy that movie, but not because she was raped, if that makes sense. Like if her rape had nothing to do with like the plot or the story of that character, then that would be kind of a different story. But the whole thing is around that happening to her and then her coming back and getting that revenge. The Sub Rosa does not go that far, obviously, but in the same vein, we talked about in our discussion, if that stuff happened to her and then like she was saved by Picard ultimately, or something along those lines, but she overcomes it herself and kills the ghost. So I think it's done well. And I also loved at the end where she says, hey, regardless of what happened, my grandmother did love her. It's a nice gray area when it comes to that. Without putting it in your face what you should think. So, yeah. Again, I'm not going to defend that as like a great episode, though. Sounds like a ripoff of that movie I Spit on Your Grave from the 70s. I haven't seen I Spit on Your Grave. But everything is a ripoff of everything. So nothing's original. There's like 5 stories. So. Does that mean originality isn't important at all? No, that's not what that means. I enjoy watching stuff that I feel like is original. But even those things that I watch that I feel like are original have inspirations. The people making it learned from other things. So nothing is original. I'm sure I Spit on Your Grave also isn't wholly original. It's just, it is what it is. Yeah, good point. Might have to look back at it with that lens and could enjoy it more. All right, well, W for open-mindedness. Everything is just a ripoff of Spock's brain. Yeah. Jan, love Genesis, do not love Sub Rosa, but agree, love Gates. All right, based. There hasn't been anything original since the Epic of Gilgamesh, says Jimmy. All right, got a couple super chats. Michael Nemo, we can't go to warp, so F Star Trek. Okay. Cashflow Hustles, thank you so much for the super chat. Quick suggestion for your December hiatus. Can you guys deep dive on some TOS documentaries, interviews, and conventions if they are spoiler free? Yeah, I mean, I would not be against it. Now, in terms of the December hiatus, I think we're going to watch at least one documentary, but I don't know if it'll be TOS. But in terms of interviews or conventions, if they're spoiler free, like I said earlier, if you anything you want to send to our email, targetaudiencecontact@gmail.com, we can have vetted if there's something I could watch on stream for sure. Thank you for the super chat. Philly just got here. Hello, everyone. Maquis Part 2 will be tomorrow on YouTube. It's already up on Patreon. That will be tomorrow. Are you settling on a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday schedule for Star Trek? No. Our schedule is loose. It's only going to get looser as we finish the seasons here on YouTube and are in that break. I would say in general, you could typically expect an episode, like in my ideal vision, the episodes would come out Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. That's what we were doing for a while. And then that leaves Friday is obviously X-Files, and then Wednesday could be a horror gallery, a day off, whatever. And then if there is an extra one that week, it being Saturday. That's ideal. But I don't say that that's the official schedule because things happen, and especially lately, the last few weeks, my output on YouTube has been high, but it's also been editing videos and posting them and publishing them mostly same day. So schedule is not set because of that. Also, just the idea of a set schedule, I just have gotten away from it because, you know, as soon as you tell people there's a schedule, they're going to expect it, obviously. And sometimes things happen, and it's just kind of something I don't want to deal with. So it's, the videos come out when they come out. What did you think of the final season 2 episodes of DS9 Maquis 2 Onward versus the previous episodes of DS9 season 2? AJ Lynch, I think you're essentially asking, do I think the season got a lot better towards the end or a lot worse or the same? I would say in general, the season is strongest in its ending episodes. I would say yes. I'm not going to go into too much specifics on that, but I would say Maquis Part 1. So what was before Maquis Part 1? There was Blood Oath, which we liked. We liked Blood Oath. And then there was Profit and Loss, which Alex liked more than me. Yeah, what was Playing God? Was that the one with Jadzia that I really liked? I would say Playing God to the end of the season, overall a pretty great stretch. Don't love every episode. I can't think of one that's like horrific or anything in that stretch. Or, you know, compared to that mid-season 2, you know, when we're getting Sanctuary, Second Sight, you know, that was tough to get through. Are you and Alex into gaming at all? If so, what kind of games do you like? We both do play video games. Alex streams on his own channel, where he streams playing Red Dead Redemption 2, Dead Space, a few other games. I play games casually. I've always been more into like simulation type games, such as, you know, like tycoon games or anything that's more mentally stimulating rather than an actual like playing a solo player game where you have to, you know, like have skill. I don't have any skill. I do play first-person shooters with my wife. Like, we'll play Call of Duty, Battlefield, Fortnite, things like that. But I'm not super into, like, solo RPG-type games because they just take too much time and I'm not good at them. I've really been enjoying watching your journey through Star Trek. I'm looking for everything coming up next. I appreciate that. You guys bring me back to my childhood as a massive nerd watching these for the first time. I appreciate that, Outcast Spartan. Thank you. I compared your tier ranking of TNG Season 1 to DS9 Season 1, and DS9 was the victor. Do you think DS9 Season 2 will beat TNG Season 2 in your tier ranking? I don't know. In the tier ranking, I don't remember what Season 2 looked like from a tier ranking perspective for TNG. I don't know. I would say, if I had to guess, they might be similar. Which one is going to have more S? Which one's going to have more A, B? I don't know, because I don't remember TNG Season 2 off the top of my head what the tier lists look like. But if I had to guess, I would say DS9 probably is going to do a little bit better. But I don't think it would be a huge difference like it was for Season 1. Because TNG Season 1 and DS9 Season 1 both were not very good, but DS9 had some bigger highlights and more consistent not terribleness. Is that a word? Ryan says you need to do a character ranking after this season. We'll probably do a character tier list for TNG. But if you're talking about DS9, we probably wouldn't do that until after the series. All right, well, I've been going a little over 2 hours. Probably going to wrap up here. If anyone wants to throw in any last minute questions via Super Chat or in the regular chat, I can answer them on my way out. But going to be editing our top 10 video for DS9 today and going to be putting that up on the Patreon hopefully later today. On the YouTube side, Maquis Part 2 is tomorrow, and then hopefully we will have, at the very least, episode 22 of TNG and Deep Space Nine, which would be Bloodlines for TNG and The Wire for DS9, hopefully. At the very least, those two will come to YouTube this week. And then I am trying to get the rest of the edited videos done within the next few weeks so we can get caught up and, not have too much of a gap between when we've watched it versus when we get on here and do the live tier listing and everything, because there was way too many people complaining the last couple seasons when we did the live streams before the edited videos hit YouTube, so we're just going to wait until after it's done. How we used to do it is we would do the live stream and then we would post the actual videos between the seasons, but there were too many people that don't understand that, and they'd come in and be like, why is this happening? The videos aren't up. So we're just not going to do that. We're just going to do the live stream, and then maybe I'll post them as their own videos. Maybe I won't. I'm not sure. But yeah, as of right now, I would foresee all good things and the last episodes of DS9 Season 2 getting posted to YouTube before Christmas, leading up to Christmas. So then we should start on YouTube for Season 3, mid-January. So it'll be a good time. Got another Super Chat. Matthew Green, what's up? Thank you so much for the Super Chat. Do you like seeing the more in-depth civilian reactions to the Federation governmental decisions better in Deep Space Nine, or the simplified exposition of it that happens in TNG? Definitely love the more in-depth in DS9, of course, yeah. Haven't seen like a ton of it outside of the Maquis and the treaty stuff. Haven't seen, even in DS9, it's not like it goes super in-depth, but even just with the Maquis and that kind of stuff, yeah, I love that. I think I talked during the Pegasus in TNG where I thought TNG was going to get more into that, more into like the realities of Starfleet or the realities of the Federation. They really didn't, outside of just a few episodes. So if DS9 does that, that'll be awesome. But yeah, I do enjoy it. So you won't be posting any videos on YouTube for a while, like just most of December. No, that is not the case. We will always be having videos every week. Now, if you're asking specifically the linear Star Trek Journey videos, there will be a few weeks without those, yeah. Like I said, as we approach Christmas and into the very beginning of the new year, there'll be a few weeks without straight up reactions to moving forward on our Star Trek journey. But there will be videos every week. There will be Star Trek videos every week. Live streams about recapping those seasons, videos about recapping the seasons, videos about TNG as a whole. All that stuff will all be coming before we jump into Season 3 of Deep Space Nine, and then shortly after that, Generations, and then starting Voyager. So that'll be how we start off the new year. Star Trek Generations came out, I believe, after episode 8 of Season 3 of Deep Space Nine. So that's when we will be watching it. All right, as I head out, I always like to end the stream with one or more, if there's more than one interesting one, random non-Star Trek question. The more random, the more weird, the better, and more likely I'll answer it. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to put that into the chat, whatever question you want. And I will answer one or more before we head out today. Seen a lot of Babylon 5 versus DS9 conversation in the chat. That's always good to see. The Scotter, love your guys' reactions. Thank you. Outcast Spartan, I already said, we're going to be watching it in release order, which is after episode 8 of season 3. Okay. Let's answer a couple here. First of all, Delta Flyer 0, toilet paper roll, over or under. This blows my mind. How anyone could ever disagree with this. But my wife literally disagrees, and every time she puts toilet paper roll on, I have to switch it, and it triggers me to no end. The toilet paper roll goes over. The toilet paper comes down from the top. Putting it under is like some kind of demonic ritual. Who would ever do that? People do. I've learned. It has to be over. Good question. Jamie says, Josh, it never changes. My wife swears she doesn't do it on purpose, but every time she puts it under. Yeah, it's just one of those things, man. Yeah, touches the wall as it unravels. I mean, that's just one of many issues with it. Yeah. All right, y'all, this has been fun. Before I head out, I have to do a quick thumbnail pose for the clip I'm going to post later of the commentary documentary, or the documentary, the directorial commentary. So I'm going to just move my mic real quick, and I'm just going to do one on both sides. Do it on this side. Okay. I'll use one of those. All right. I'll see you guys later. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Have a good week. I'll stream soon. And stay tuned for all the videos coming this week here on YouTube. Over on Patreon, we got a whole bunch of fun stuff going on. All the videos, all the full watch-alongs are already posted for both seasons. And a lot of cool stuff is over there. So check it out if you want to. It's a good time. Literally the only reason we exist and I'm able to do this is because of our patrons. So thank you to all of them, and I'll check you guys out later.